10. Tumultuous Trio. Every year, Mardi Gras parades are held in many parts of Louisiana. Known as cruise parades, they feature floats, music, and other entertainment, much like any other parade. But with tens of thousands of people often attending the events and the inherently rowdy nature of Mardi Gras, they tend to get a little out of hand from time to time. Take, for example, the cruise parade in Alexandria, where an estimated crowd of 25,000 gathers annually. In 2016, a fight broke out in a bank parking lot at the end of the event. A woman who happened to be there later posted footage of the melee on Facebook, capturing the attention of local authorities. Officers responded to many disorders in a parking lot in the 2100 block of North Mall Drive at the end of Sunday's Mardi Gras parade. After arriving and controlling the disturbance, officers interviewed witnesses and evaluated the evidence that identified the ringleaders of the incident. The episode was believed to have started over a parking dispute. Police charged 25-year-old Joshua Andreas, 23-year-old Chelsea Thompson, and 22-year-old Lauren Poole with disturbing the peace in connection with the fight. The police admitted that there were many more people involved, but that they were choosing to only press charges against these 3 particular suspects. Andreas is still in jail, being held on an unrelated Louisiana fugitive warrant. Both Paul and Thompson were later released from custody. 9. Veronica Thuria. In one of the many events throughout Louisiana leading up to Mardi Gras, a woman named Veronica Thuria reportedly stole a dog in 2020 during what's known as the Mystic Crew of Mutts Parade. The Fort Worth, Texas woman had apparently volunteered to walk an adoptable dog named Bonnie during the event, which takes place in Baton Rouge. But she failed to return the dog to the rescue organization. The West Feliciana Animal Humane Society shared photos of both the suspect and the dog on its Facebook page. Thankfully, Bonnie was found unharmed near a bus station, and law enforcement caught up to Thuria and charged her with dog theft. Police reported that the woman was arrested during a strange tirade over her car being towed. While it's unclear how Veronica's criminal case played out, in a follow-up post, the Humane Society said that a police report had been filed in the case and a multi-parish search was underway to find the dog. The Humane Society added that Bonnie has been found safe and is on her way home. An arrest has been made. 8. Brandon Boivin. As Mardi Gras rolled around earlier this year, 33-year-old Brandon Boivin made a spur-of-the-moment decision to travel to New Orleans from his home in Orangeburg, South Carolina, and join in on the festivities. Brandon, his girlfriend, and his younger brother all piled into the car and drove to a hotel where they'd just rented a room. They'd just arrived and were in the process of checking in when Brandon went back out to the car to grab a phone that the group needed to complete their check-in. In just those few moments, people in 2 other cars began shooting at each other in the parking lot, and Brandon got caught directly in the gunfire. He passed away from his injuries, leaving behind a 3-year-old son. While Brandon was in the car searching for his phone, his brother overheard the gunfire and rushed outside. He found Brandon slumped over and lifeless. The coroner's office had not released the name or home state of the man killed in the fatal shooting, but relatives identified him as Brandon Boivin of Orangeburg, South Carolina. It was clear that Brandon was not the intended target of the shooting, leaving his family feeling devastated that he died in a situation he truly had nothing to do with. In the wake of the unspeakable tragedy, the slain man's loved ones told the press that they hope someone can help identify Brandon's shooter and bring them to justice, even though it unfortunately won't bring Brandon back. 7. Caught by a stray bullet. Heaven Nettles and her family had an annual tradition of traveling from Houston, Texas to New Orleans for Mardi Gras to visit with family and friends and to enjoy the celebration. The team was waiting in line at a food truck to buy something to eat during this year's festivities when she was fatally struck by stray gunfire, along with 2 others who were standing in line. Speaking with NOLA.com just days after the tragedy, Heaven's devastated father, Jamal Briscoe, emphasized how his daughter had nothing to do with whatever had led to the unprovoked homicide. He told news agency Click 2 Houston that a man just ran right up and started shooting, and that one of the bullets struck Heaven's head. Police agreed Heaven was not the intended victim. At the time, they had yet to publicly name any suspects or motives for the triple murder, which also claimed the lives of 39-year-old Donald Roberts Jr. and Marvin Pepp. New Orleans police detectives have not released many specifics about the case, but said in their last online update that the investigation is active and continuing. It's unclear where the investigation currently stands. 6. Jacoby Cage. During the 2019 Krewe of Centurions Mardi Gras parade in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, a violent fight broke out among over 24 men, bringing the event to a screeching halt. After breaking up the fight, sheriff's deputies accused 20-year-old Jacoby Cage of yelling obscenities and throwing punches at the officers. Sergeant Keith Dowling took Cage to the ground and arrested him on suspicion of battery of an officer and resisting arrest. Cage had never been in legal trouble before and maintained his innocence in the case. Shortly after his arrest, footage of police tackling him surfaced on social media, causing others to suspect that Cage had been unfairly and inaccurately targeted by law enforcement simply for being a young black man who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. The disturbing video shows a deputy knocking Cage's phone out of his hand and giving Cage the middle finger while he filmed the tense interactions between police and civilians. Cage reacted by giving the cops the middle finger, and they immediately subdued him in what many considered to be a case of blatant excessive force. The young man was left with numerous injuries, despite showing no signs of resisting officers during the takedown. The charges against Cage were ultimately dismissed. He later filed a lawsuit accusing the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office of excessive force and settled the matter confidentially. "You always have your good cops, your bad cops," Cage said. "I have no problem with the police, even to this day, but what I seen that day was just wrong. Them charging me was just insane. It can happen anywhere, to anybody." 5. Nielsen Rizzuto. In 2017, the Mardi Gras parade in downtown New Orleans was interrupted when a great pickup truck plowed into a crowd of spectators, leaving more than 30 people injured, 23 of whom were hospitalized. Police wasted no time taking the driver, a young, sweaty, disheveled man, to the ground and putting him in handcuffs. He was identified as 25-year-old Nielsen Rizzuto and was taken to jail on numerous counts of first-degree negligent vehicular injury, one count of hit-and-run driving causing serious injury, and one count of reckless operation of a vehicle. The suspect's blood alcohol level tested out at nearly 3 times the legal limit following his arrest. It's still unclear why the driver was not also punished with DUI charges, as the local police have continually referred to Rizzuto as a drunk driver. Pictures of the incident show shell-shocked parade watchers nursing those injured in the crash, which local police have not defined as an act of terrorism. "We suspect that subject was highly intoxicated," Police Chief Michael Harrison said. The Federal Bureau of Investigation in New Orleans said its agents were coordinating with our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners to determine whether a federal violation has occurred. Rizzuto pleaded guilty to 11 counts of negligent vehicular injury and 14 related misdemeanors, earning him a sentence of 5 years behind bars, with 1 year suspended and credit for 11 months' time served. The judge also ordered Rizzuto to write apologies to his victims and attend meetings for various alcohol addiction and awareness groups, including Alcoholics Anonymous and Mothers Against Drunk Driving. During his sentencing hearing, Rizzuto apologized and said that his actions will forever haunt him. He also said that he never meant to harm anyone and that if he could take it all back, he would. 4. Mardi Gras Ride Out. During Mardi Gras in 2018, over 100 individuals took to the streets on dirt bikes and ATVs in an illegal rally that became known as the New Orleans Bike Life Mardi Gras Day Ride Out. What may have seemed like a harmless joyride to some was a severe inconvenience to others, particularly the motorists who got stuck in traffic as the gathering shut down many of the city's streets and part of a nearby interstate. The ride out lasted 8 hours total. Many were surprised to learn the police were aware of the planned event at least 11 days ahead of time, but they chose not to stop it from happening because of concerns about the possibility of hostile interactions and dangerous police chases. Dozens of arrest warrants were issued in the ride out's aftermath. Nearly half the participants were identified as Louisiana residents, while others came from as far away as California, Montana, and New York, as well as from other states. The suspects were mostly accused of intimidating law-abiding drivers, driving recklessly, disrupting traffic, and evading police. A few were charged with assaulting officers during reports. According to law enforcement reports, many of the bikes and ATVs that were used in the ride-out had been stolen from dealerships in Louisiana and Mississippi. Many citizens were also puzzled why a state police helicopter was observing the commotion from above but outwardly taking no action. State troopers, New Orleans police, and other local law enforcement administrators faced criticism for failing to stop an unruly event that had been pushed in advance on social media platforms. While it's unclear how harsh most of the suspects' punishments were, there hasn't been a ride out since, perhaps showing that the joyride isn't worth the legal consequences. 3. Taylor Renee Neely. In a tradition known as Folie Gras, beachgoers in South Carolina used to gather every year for their own version of Mardi Gras. During the last Folie Gras celebration before the pandemic in 2019, onlookers captured shocking footage of a woman kicking a bouncer in the face. In the video, it appeared as though she managed to knock the big burly security guard out cold. The suspect was identified as 22-year-old Taylor Renee Neely. Police contacted her to let her know they had a warrant for her arrest, and she turned herself in shortly thereafter. Neely was charged with second-degree assault and battery and spent 6 hours behind bars before posting a $10,000 bond. Officials said they were still working on any other leads and charges that may come up for the male that was involved with her during the attack. A background check with the State Law Enforcement Division didn't show Neely as having any prior arrests or convictions in South Carolina. While it's unclear how Neely's case turned out, she was just one of many people who were arrested during Folie Gras that year, leading to the event's indefinite cancellation. After nabbing 22 people for public intoxication, disorderly conduct, and other drinking and fighting-related offenses, the authorities decided they'd had enough for the time being, and possibly forever, leaving the future of Folie Gras uncertain. The event hasn't been held since that year, but it's unclear whether that's because of the pandemic or because the powers that be are sticking to their guns and refusing to let it happen. 2. Brady Becker. During a Mardi Gras parade back in 2015, a young man named Brady Becker reportedly stepped in to defend his friend, who'd gotten into an altercation with 2 men who happened to be sheriff's deputies. Becker would later claim that he had no clue the men were cops. Nicholas Brew and his partner Corey Poche had been patrolling the area in plain clothes when they tried taking Becker into custody for allegedly disruptive behavior. The teen allegedly got combative, leading Brew to punch him repeatedly in the face, leaving him with a black eye, a fractured jaw and cheek, and a cut above his eye. Becker was booked on suspicion of possession of alcohol by a minor, resisting arrest, battery on a police officer, and inciting a riot. In turn, he accused the police of using excessive force and claimed that neither Brew nor Poche identified themselves as cops. In a court document, Becker's lawyer stated, Brady Becker was assaulted and pummeled mercilessly by the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, an MMA fighter who for no legal reason whatsoever beat this young boy for no cause. The FBI investigated Becker's allegations but failed to find enough evidence to prosecute the sheriff's deputies. In the end, the charges against Becker that related directly to the encounter with Brew and Poche were dropped, and he was convicted of a misdemeanor charge of disturbing the peace for a separate and unrelated offense that happened shortly beforehand. 1. Jamie Jackson Reid. Viral footage captured during the 2013 Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras celebration showed a New South Wales constable named Leon Mixios slamming 18-year-old Jamie Jackson Reid to the ground and stepping on the shirtless teen's back. The video, which features Jamie sobbing and repeatedly yelling "I didn't do anything wrong" and being forcefully subdued when he was already in handcuffs, generated outrage across the globe as activists demanded answers about why the young man was treated so brutally. Jackson was charged with assaulting 2 officers, resisting arrest, and using offensive language. People were especially skeptical of the police after seeing that officers had instructed witnesses to stop filming what was happening. Meanwhile, Constable Mixios claimed he'd stepped on Jamie's back and kept his distance because the teen was bleeding and he didn't want to be contaminated. The New South Wales police urged the public not to judge the situation based on the footage that was available, yet they took years to fully investigate the ordeal. It wasn't until 2016 that the agency officially agreed that they had used excessive force. All charges against Jackson were ultimately dropped, and the New South Wales police were ordered to pay him $39,000 for his legal costs. And, as it turned out, the department ended up compensating many other individuals for alleged abuses of authority that happened in the same year that Jackson was arrested. Thanks for watching. Would you rather get stuck in a traffic jam and miss Mardi Gras, or make it to the festivities and have a great time before getting arrested for being a little too rowdy? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. See you soon. Bye.